City of Brainerd, Minnesota City Council meeting. Administrator Bergman, please call the roll.
Stengline.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
O'Day.
Here.
Stunek. Johnson. Pritchett.
Here.
Bevins.
Here.
And Bedot.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we are underway. Item 4 is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Pritchett. Is there a second? Second by O'Day. Is there any discussion? Any discussion at all? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. We now have an agenda. Item 5 is the consent calendar. This is a notice to the public that all matters listed are considered routine by the council and will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time the council votes on the motion to be adopted by roll call. Is there a motion to adopt the consent calendar?
So moved.
Motion by Stengline. Is there a second?
Second. Erickson.
Second by Erickson. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none. Administrator Bergman, please call the roll.
Stengline.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Pritchett.
Yes.
And Bevins.
Yes. That motion is adopted. Item 6, Community Member of the Month, the Honorable Mayor Bedot.
Well, well, well. It is March. However, we are going to talk about February because this is the February Community Member of the Month because we had a wonderful snowstorm. And so we said, hold off. We'll have you come to the next one. No reason to have anyone get in any danger. No reason to get any socks wet with snow. But what we're going to talk about tonight is kind of a continuation off of the theme that we had with our last Community Member of the Month in January. And this is an individual that has been a part of our community for quite a while and has just stepped up into a new role. And first we'll just say congratulations to Don Stanka for being the Community Member of the Month. But let's talk for a little bit about what's going on here. Don has stepped up to take on ownership over Cocoa Moon, which is the wonderful coffee shop right on the corner across from City Hall. So for all you people working in City Hall, get your butts over there, get yourself a nice cup of coffee. I like the large with 4 shots, which is why I really like that place, because you can say, not only do I want a huge coffee, I want all the coffee you can get into the huge coffee. But really, the biggest thing about this award and why we've selected you, Don, is because this is about a dedication to our downtown, and this is about stepping up and looking at a business and saying, I think I'd like to take that on. And one of the biggest things I think that we as a city could help do for our downtown is really start focusing on succession planning and working with our businesses so that as business owners are moving on, as people are ready to start the new portions of their lives, as Lori, the previous owner, and her husband had decided to do. I believe they're going to be traveling and RVing, so congratulations to them as well. But as those things are happening, we as a city should be keeping an eye out and trying to help as much as we can to have the next people step up and to make sure that we have a plan. And I was just talking to a business owner that was maybe potentially looking at something downtown. And when I mentioned that, they said, that's what I really wanted to hear. I wanted to hear that that's a focus from the city so that we know that there's a support system behind it. And 15 years on and off, I believe, you worked. More on than off, I assume. But it means a lot, and it's really important that as our businesses and our business owners move on, that the next group and the next generation steps up. So, congratulations. I know it's March, but congratulations, Don Stanka, our February Community Member of the Month. We got to do a photo.
Don.
Setting the stage for one Stephen Shepard to get the march.
Right.
Depends how St. Patty's Day goes.
Yep. Yeah, we'll have to get more floats first.
Just smile.
Thanks, Don. Hey, before you sit down, can I get my card stamped? No. Don, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Oh.
Take it. It's a trap. It's a trap. Oh, you can't give us, we can't take free coffee. We can't take.
No.
Teresa
You
can.
have to earn them the old fashioned.
My card's ready to punch, the next one's free anyway.
She's just like, I'm not on council, I'll take them all.
No, I don't think I can either.
Wow, she's got a lot of articles in the dispatch this week.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and welcome to the business community, Don. After 35 years, it's still a lot of fun. All right, next up is item 7, to conduct the dangerous dog hearing. I'm going to turn it over to Administrator Bergman and Attorney Langle and see where this goes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the council. On October 18th, the city council declared 3 dogs as dangerous, Ava, Brownie, and Wendy, who are owned by Angela Blakemore. Subsequently, the city council passed a motion on a 4-1 vote to allow the owners 7 days to remove the dogs from the city of Brainerd, provide proof that they have done so, and further, that the dogs will be subject to immediate seizure by animal control if they are found in the city. On February 24th, the Brainerd Police Department were called to a house in Brainerd. 2 of the dogs that were deemed dangerous and asked to be removed from the city had gotten into a fight, and Ms. Blakemore attempted to intervene, resulting in injuries to her that did require medical attention. All 3 dogs were seized by animal control on that evening. The council's motion allowed the dog owners to remove all 3 dogs from the city limits. Section 900.27 subdivision 4 states that if an owner of an animal has subsequently violated the provision with the same animal, that the animal must be seized by the enforcement officer. As I mentioned, they were. And the owner may request a hearing. We did receive notice on, I believe on Monday, that the owner is, or Thursday, that the owner was requesting a hearing. And I know that Attorney Langle will provide some comments here as well.
Mr. Attorney.
Mr. President, Council, so as Ms. Bergen indicated, we're at the point in your code where we're going to have this hearing, and the issue before the council at this point is extremely narrow. The only issue, based upon the prior conduct and based upon the prior order, is whether these 3 dogs were in fact within the limits of the city of Brainerd. That's it. That's the only issue for the council tonight. Ideally, the council would hear whatever testimony is available, make a finding on that single point, and then depending upon what that finding is, one way or another, then we will know where to go from there based upon City Code Section 900.27 Subdivision 4. If there was a violation, meaning that the animals were in fact within the city limits, then your code requires that the animals be destroyed in a proper and humane manner. So with that, I would ask that the council open up the hearing and see what evidence there is for it.
Yes.
And Mr. Chair, members of the council, our Animal Control Officer, Mike O'Brien, is here also, if you would like to hear from him.
Mike, before we open the public hearing, is there something you would like to say? I mean, I think it would be particularly pertinent as to where you picked them up.
Yeah.
Please, come up.
I mean, really shortly.
Yes?
I received a call from dispatch stating that there was a fight with 2 pit bull type dogs at 515 Second Avenue North.
Will you turn your microphone on? It's on the stand there, yep.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Nice. There you go. Did you
And
hear that?
start with your name and address, please. Yep.
My address.
City 501 Laurel Street.
501 Laurel Street.
Okay, yeah. Michael O'Brien, I'm the animal control officer for the city of Brainerd. Okay, so I received a call on the 24th, it was like 3:17 p.m. from dispatch stating that there was at least two pit bull type dogs involved in a fight at 515 2nd Avenue Northeast. I immediately recognized the address. I explained to her, and she told me that there were officers on scene and they needed help. I was on another call. I explained to her that there were 3 dogs at that address. They're not supposed to be at that address, but I assume these are probably the 3 dogs, and they're all registered or declared dangerous. They should be careful, and I'll get there as soon as I can. I got there really shortly after that. It was the right house, and they had one of the dogs secured in a squad car, and I peeked in there and right away recognized it as Ava, the mother of the other 2 dogs, and it was, again, 2nd Avenue Northeast in Brainerd, and it was one of the dogs that we had declared dangerous. They said there was another dog out back, and it was just tied up to a rope, so I told them I would go and see which dog that was, and if it was one of the ones, I would secure it, and it was Windy, the black one. There's 2 brown ones and a black one, and it was Windy. So I got her loaded in a kennel, came back around, took the dog out of the squad car, put that one in a kennel, and at that time, Nate showed up, and there was a little bit of a scene. So I just told Sergeant Davis that I would bring the dogs to the shelter, and we would figure out about the 3rd one afterwards. So I left. While I had just left, Nate agreed he admitted the other dog was in the house, and he agreed to go in and get the dog. So I was to come back. So I came back. He went in the house with a couple of Brainerd officers. They brought the dog out. We secured it. And Nate helped me get it loaded in my truck. And as we were doing so, he was asking me why I was taking him. And I explained that, the 2 council directives or whatever to remove the dogs within 7 days and provide proof. He never did that. We never received any sort of proof that they were removed from the city. And he was never to bring them back into the city. And these were obviously the dogs. And he admitted they were obviously the dogs. And he thought we were going to destroy them that night. And I convinced him, obviously, we're not just going to go out back and shoot them. We're going to hold them until, such time as now. And he then explained to me that he had them in the city before, and there was never any problems since the last meeting. I'd been in contact with him several times since then. I furnished him the paperwork to get the request for a hearing, and it's been fairly civil. But yes, the dogs were in the city limits.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. O'Brien?
You said 2nd Avenue Northeast?
2nd Avenue
That's
Northeast.
like right in the middle of, that's not even near the boundaries, right?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Anybody else? Mr. O'Day?
Were any people hurt?
So Nathan's mom, so the dogs are jointly owned between Nathan and Miss Blakemore. And Nathan's mom received a large laceration to her foot, which we initially thought was caused by a dog as she was trying to break up this fight. And it was determined by the doctor later that apparently it was something to do with the door. It was like a 6-inch laceration. She did have a puncture wound in her elbow that she wasn't really willing to discuss how she got that. So there were people hurt. Were they hurt by the dogs? I can't say yes for sure.
No police injuries?
Not that I'm aware of. When I got there, they had the road shut down, and there ended up being like 9 police officers there. There was a lot of people there by the time I had arrived.
Any further questions for Mr. O'Brien? Thanks for your testimony. Having heard all staff testimony, we will open the public hearing at 42, and ask for testimony from anybody who wishes to give it, but particularly the owners of the dogs, I think, would be the ones. They are the ones that request this hearing, and now is the time to come up and provide your testimony. Is there anybody in the council room that wishes to provide testimony on this issue? Anybody online that wishes to provide testimony? If you are online and you want to testify in this, *3 lets us know that you're there and ready to talk, and then *6 will unmute you. Second call for anybody who wishes to testify in this hearing, and a final call for anybody who wishes to testify in this hearing. It is now 7:44, and I will close the hearing and ask the council to make a determination first if the owner violated the council's order. Anybody with Mr. Johnson?
Are you looking for a motion or an opinion?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I move to make the determination that the council's order was violated.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion by Johnson, a second by Stingline. Any discussion on that motion? Any discussion on that motion? Final call, any discussion on that motion? We will vote by voice vote. All in favor of determining that the owner did violate the council's order, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. Now what to do? Mr. Attorney, can you, we clearly can do, would this be appropriate next step?
Mr. President, according to the city code, it states that if the owner is found to have violated the provisions for which the animals were seized, the enforcement officer shall order the animal destroyed in a proper and humane manner, and the owner shall pay the cost of confining the animals. So by code, that is the next step after after the finding is made. So the
Okay.
finding's been made, so the next step will be up to the animal control officer.
Right. Okay. Any questions on the attorney? Then we're looking for a motion as to what, to follow the code
Yeah.
or not.
I don't think you even need a motion because your code already indicates what has to happen.
So, okay. Now, I think it's probably better that we do. So it becomes part of the record this evening. So, you know what the code says, Mr. O'Day?
I will motion to follow the code. I was the one who motioned to give these dogs a chance.
Just make the motion.
Okay.
And we'll have discussion later. Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Second, Mr. O'Day.
I was the one that motioned to try to give these dogs a chance. I'm a dog lover. I think most of us probably are. But these owners knew that by bringing the dogs back in city limits, they were putting the dogs in danger. This is not the dog's fault. The reason that they are dangerous dogs is probably not their fault either. It doesn't feel good, but this was their choice.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Last call, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Aye, opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 8 is council committee reports. 8A is Safety and Public Works Committee, Chairman Mike O'Day.
Thank you, Mr. President. Safety and Public Works had 4 items tonight. First of which was the approval of event street closure application for the 2022 St. Patrick's Day Parade. Motion coming out of committee was to recommend approval of the attached application under the conditions that the applicant submit traffic control 1 week / 5 days before the event and submit the required insurance per the event application prior to the event. I so move.
I have a motion by O'Day, second by Pritchett. Any discussion? Mr. O'Day.
I can just tell you guys, this is an event that's happening in 5 days. It's our downtown festival for St. Patrick's Day that we have not had in, is it 3 years? First time in 2 years, 3 years? So everybody get down there and have a green beer. This is 11:30 a.m. when we start. So have a good St. Patty's Day.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next item was approval of the plans for specification and authorized bidding for the historic water tower roof. And motion coming out of committee was to recommend the approval of plans and specifications as presented and authorized bidding. Bid opening is planned for Friday, April 8th, 2022 at 10 a.m. I so move.
We have a motion by O'Day,
Second.
second by Erickson. Any discussion? Mr. Mayor? Or wait, let's go with Mr. O'Day. Did you have your hand up?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
but he's been much more involved in this.
All right.
So go ahead.
Okay,
Just a
Mr. O'Day yields the floor to the mayor.
Yes.
simple comment in that this is a great step in this entire process. Long process, as we all know. Still a long ways to go. Even after this is done, there will still be more to do with this project. However, this is a great step in the direction. As you recall, this funding is coming from the Minnesota Historical Society, and we thank them for that.
Mr. O'Day.
I will add, this is part of the restoration of the water tower. Putting a rubber roof up, adding a ladder to get up to the top of that roof. It drains internally towards the middle of the tower, but it's going to take care of a lot of the leaking issues, and then we can look forward to actually fixing the stucco for our next steps. I believe the windows and stairs are included in this one too. So,
Excellent. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the plans and specs, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign, that motion carries. Please proceed.
thank you, Mr. President. This third item was a little bit more unique. I thought we should maybe have a motion. Staff said we didn't necessarily need to, we just give direction. But we're still gonna ask for the rest of the council to sort of agree or disagree. What we decided to do for this, it's whether or not to create a visual quality working group for the 2025 Highway 210 reconstruction project. This would be looking for business owners and landowners along the 210 corridor, as well as some council members and staff to get together and really nail out the aesthetics part of the highway reconstruction. We already have a project management team consisting of Mr. Erickson, myself, Mr. Bordeaux, and Mr. Johnson. Staff suggested maybe the other council members get on this committee, and then we could ask specific store owners, business owners along the corridor to be on the committee as well. But we also suggested maybe we start off with a whiteboard town hall type meeting and just invite all of these owners along that corridor to attend. We can do a brainstorm and then start the committee after that meeting. But I think what we're trying to decide is how do we appoint council members? I suggested the president pick 3 council members because we want to keep it under 4, under a quorum, and we can decide on business owners at a later date.
Okay. Any questions of Chairman O'Day as to what he's looking for? Okay. Is there a motion with this at this point?
That's what I was suggesting, but it was suggested we leave
Okay.
it as discussion.
Okay, let's take this one home, and I would suggest myself, Mr. Pritchett, and Ms. Stingline for the vision quality manual. So if you'd like to make that motion.
Sure, I'll motion for Mr. Bevins, Mr. Pritchett, and Ms. Stangline to be on to lead the visual quality working group for the 2025 Highway 210 reconstruction project.
Second.
We have a motion by O'Day, a second by Erickson. Any discussion on the committee?
Is Kevin, he's not here, so he's not involved on the other one either?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
He gets a pass on this one.
Okay. Normally, if you don't show up, you're in charge of something.
But refer to my previous comment where he wears Hawaiian shirts and cargo shorts.
No, fair enough, you don't want to be charged.
Visual?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? I certainly, as a general rule, don't like these committees, but anytime you get a chance to tell MnDOT what you think, I think you need to take advantage of it. I mean, I presume it will be somewhat of a battle, especially since all of the property, 100% of it in the corridor is privately owned. Yes, Mr. Sandy? I don't think we own anything on there. So that should make it fun. MnDOT and 300 private business owners, all with a different idea. But I like the idea of a whiteboard open house. I think that's a great place to start. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed.
Are you wanting to talk about that anymore, or are we good?
You're not on the committee, so no.
Okay, perfect.
You've been whacked. You go talk about project management.
I already picked the
How many
lights.
layers of tar we're gonna have.
Yeah. We already
We'll
picked the
talk
lights.
about stuff that people really care about. Trees that you can't plant on 6 inches of concrete. But the right of way, I think, goes pretty much through Cub Food's bathroom, so. Okay.
All right, fourth and final item was the consideration of the revised section 320 amendment language. So, remember last week we had a presentation from Mr. Chansky in Safety and Public Works, and we sent it back for some continued language change. He brought it back. Motion from committee today was to approve the proposed changes to section 320 of the city code and direct staff to draft subsequent ordinance amendment. I so move.
Second.
I apologize, Mr. O'Day. Could you please repeat that motion?
I motion to approve the proposed changes to section 320 of the city code and direct staff to draft the subsequent ordinance amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Erickson. Any discussion? Mr. O'Day?
You want me to mention the changes?
Yes?
So the changes, let me pull it up. Changes were from last week, there was 5 different levels of citation, 100 through 500. That has been reduced to 3 levels, 100, 200, and 300. After the 3rd citation, if there's non-compliance, it will be sent to Safety and Public Works to decide on what to do next. There are some violations that are now 30 days, and there are some that are 10 days, and that's based on how long it should basically take to fix the citation problem. Those were the main things that are changing, so that's about it.
Thank you. Any further discussion, Mr. Pritchett?
Just one other thing is Attorney Langel said that it does have to come in front of council. So the recommendation will go from our committee to council.
Excellent. Chairman Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. President. I am going to vote no. I like the changes, adding the community development director and assistant planner. I like that we say that it's conducted on a complaint-driven basis. I like that we add that it has to be done in 30 or 10 days. I don't like that we remove the administrative offense may be subject to a penalty not exceeding $2,000. So based on my math, you have 10 days to correct. If you don't correct in 10 days, you get another citation. So if you get a citation on January 1st and you don't fix it every 10 days for the rest of the year, you're going to be fined over $10,000 by the city. We have a cap in the current ordinance. We're changing it to remove that cap for the max fine now to effectively be $10,500. And I don't want to be on the city council at the meeting where a citizen shows up with a $10,000 bill. So I'm going to vote no.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? I'm also going to vote against it for the exact same reason that Chairman Johnson did.
If there's nobody else that's going to speak, I can explain the concern.
Yeah,
So,
yes, please.
so the concern, it was something that was brought up in our meeting as well.
By the mayor.
By the mayor. Almost identical. So what happens is you get a $100 fine, $10 or 10 days later, you get a $200 fine, and 10 days later, you might get a $300 fine if you are expressively non-compliant. That's $600. Then it goes to Safety and Public Works. So for any single violation, the most you're going to receive is a $600 violation, unless Safety and Public Works says, wipe that fine and we'll get them to fix it, or fine them more. So that is where we accepted this. Instead of last week, 2 weeks ago, it was 5 different citations that could have happened day after day after day, the way it was written. That would have gave people up to a $1,500 fine in 5 days. So that's not the way it was meant to be written. I thought that this language fixed it. So that's why I'm supporting it.
Thank you. Chairman Johnson?
I don't think that is what is written down in black and white and red right here. That makes sense, that you cap it at 600 and then you go to Safety and Public Works. But depending on what Safety and Public Works decides, depending on how any of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 employees read the code, it may not exactly do that. So maybe we should add a subdivision 2 that says something along the lines of an administrative offense may be subject to a civil penalty not to exceed $600 or $2,000 or something. And I would be okay with it if we could add that language.
Mr. Johnson, would you like to make an amendment to section 2?
I would make the amendment to, I move to amend the motion to add back the subdivision 2 that says an administrative offense may be subject to a civil penalty not exceeding $600.
We have a offer to amend. Is there a second? We have an offer to amend. Is there a second? Third call. We have an offer to amend. Is there a second? Hearing none, that offer to amend dies for lack of a second. Mr. O'Day?
I think lack of a second for me, or support on that, what happens when the violation is actually more than $600 for the city to actually fix it, to go in and abate something, to fix something, to knock something down, whatever it may be? What if it costs $5,000 for the city and now we're capped at $2,000 and we're still on the line for $3,000 of a $5,000 bill? I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't see this as writing tickets to people for excessive amounts. I just think it leaves us some freedom to cover our bases.
Mr. President,
Tad Erickson.
lack of a second for me because the language here, the $2,000 that was struck refers to the individual fine versus the cumulative fine. So that came up, as Chairman O'Day mentioned, the first citation is 100, second's 200, there's 300, and then the third citation is adding a second 300 for a total of 600. And the initial language there, the 2,000, that's the individual fine. So the individual fine could not exceed 2,000, not the cumulative fines.
Oh, it's cumulative.
So that was the difference that I was reading into that. So I support the motion as stated, the original motion as stated, to approve the document, so.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? And last call, any further discussion? So we have a motion and a second and a failed offer to amend. Discussion is closed. It is just a consideration of language. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes. Anything else, Mr. Chair?
End of report.
Thank you very much. Next up is 8B, Personal and Finance Committee, Chairman Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 7 items on the agenda, the first of which is the Fire Department Relief Association's 2021 Annual Report Update. And the motion is to authorize staff to sign the revised annual reports that show a required municipal contribution of 2022 of $30,252, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Johnson, a second by Stingline. Any discussion, Chairman Johnson?
Yeah, some curious changes down at the state auditor's office this year, that when they received the report we authorized in the fall, they came back and said, well, your required municipal contribution is now $88,000. And Joe Henge at the Fire Relief Association said, that's not right, that's not fair. And the state auditor said, don't worry about it, your city has to pay it no matter what. But Joe spent a lot of hours and he spent weeks amending his forms and talking to the state auditor and getting everything done right. And he got the contribution back down to $30,000 from the 88, so he saved us $58,000 just because he's a good guy. Didn't have to do it, but he did. So I wanted to share that with everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any further discussion on the Fire Relief Fund? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
All right, next up is a consider approval of an agreement to provide HR services to the HRA. And the motion is to approve the attached joint powers agreement between the City of Brainerd and Brainerd Housing and Redevelopment Authority for Human Resources Services, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Stengline. Chairman Johnson.
This is what we had talked about during the budgeting process last year, where we have the contract services.
Yep, thank you very much. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
Next up is ratifying the hiring of the 2022 engineering interns, and the motion is to ratify the hiring of our 2022 engineering interns as noted on the attached listing, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Stengline. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
Next up is to authorize the final payment on the Lum Park Master Plan, and the motion is to authorize the final payment for the Lum Park Master Plan in the amount of $2,450, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Stengline. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Oh, I had discussion. Just follow up on the museum people. They were gonna pay for part of it?
They were going to pay for half of it.
Administrator Bergman?
Yep, the original agreement was they were gonna pay 50% and the city was going to pay 50%. We did, exit our relationship, sever our relationship with the Children's Museum. I did reach out and ask if they would pay their half, and they declined.
Thank you.
So if you'd like Joe to write a letter and have it on the bottom of my agenda for the rest of eternity, we can do it.
But I would hope.
Okay.
Chairman Johnson.
Thank you,
please
Mr.
proceed.
President. The next up is a consideration of a Crow Wing Historical Society donation request, and the motion is to authorize a $500 donation to the Historical Society to be paid out of the council special projects budgeted line item, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Johnson, a second by Stengline. Chairman Johnson.
This is one of the very few nonprofits that a city can fund in Minnesota, and we can give a donation to a historical society. They asked, and included in the packet is, we've been between $200 and $500 for the last, on and off for the last 15 years. We're authorizing 500 here.
Excellent. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
All right, next up is the fire contract formula for 2023. This is just informational. We have to figure out what we're levying and paying for fire services next year in March, because the townships have to get their budgets done before we do, I think is the deal. But if you look, it's just informational. The overall expenditures is going up 0.21%. Brainerd's share of the expenses is actually going down $747, so fire services will essentially be the same for us next year.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. The final item on my agenda is an update on the request for funds to be returned from Lakes Area Media Collaborative. We made a motion on August 16th to formally request the refund of any unspent funds that we gave to Lakes Media Collaborative. Staff has not received a response to the unspent funds yet.
Thank you.
And that's the end of report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next up is unfinished business, item 9. Item 9A is a call for applicants. Mr. Mayor, you're up first.
Holy heck, here we go. Obviously, we've gone through this 1,000 times, but if you're new to this operation, here's the deal. We're looking for people for our various committees. Applications are available at the city's website, www.ci.brainerd.mn.us/boards/. We are looking for the following members for the following committees. Cable TV Advisory Committee, 2 terms expiring 2022, 1 term expiring 2024. Charter Commission, 1 term expiring 2022, 1 term expiring 2025. Rental Dwelling License Board of Appeals, we need to get this one filled, so if you've got interest, please reach out to us. Once again, the Rental Dwelling License Board of Appeals, 3 terms expiring 2022. We also have the EDA, one term expiring 2022 and one term expiring 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also have one committee to appoint to, and that's the Planning Commission. We're looking for one term, one person, one term to expire in 2023. There is an ad hoc committee for the Water Tower Committee, and what a perfect time to get on that one.
This is when you want to be involved.
Right, you can tell everybody that you saved the water tower.
You can go up in the water tower. This is the one committee,
I want to do it
the
now.
one committee where I can say, you get on this committee, I got the keys. I'll take you up there. I'll take you up there.
Everybody makes a mistake.
I'll tell you why we don't have meetings up there, because half the people that get up there turn pure white.
Well, Neil, all right, thanks. There's two positions available on the Water Tower Fundraising Committee. Item 10 is new business. Item 10A is a resolution receiving the feasibility report and calling for a hearing for improvement 21-1. That's the Greenwood Street reconstruction process. Public Works Director Sandy, anything you wish to add to what's in our packet?
Just a quick description of the project, Mr. Chair. So we've been working with MnDOT on their reconstruction of South 6th Street, or Highway 371B from Joseph Street to Greenwood Street. As part of that reconstruction project, MnDOT's realigning Greenwood Street down by Buffalo Hills Lane to come in perpendicular to the highway. And they're paving back a long ways. And we have basically 840 feet left to finish that off, and that's what this project is. This is basically the remainder of the project from where MnDOT leaves off with the realignment back to Woodland Hills and finishing off that paving. This is a state aid road, so state aid standards have to be followed if we're going to use state aid funds to fund that road. I guess anything else in the feasibility report that the council has questions on, I can answer at this time. Otherwise, staff would be looking to have the council adopt that resolution in which receives that report and sets the public hearing for April 4th, 2022 at 7:30 p.m.
Any questions of our Public Works Director? Hearing none, we're looking for, this is straightening out the intersection, correct?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's MnDOT's project, and we're finishing it off up to Woodland Hills. There would be 840 feet of gravel left.
Any other questions of the Public Works Director? Hearing none, all in, no, let's look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
And
Second.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Commissioner Bergman, please call the roll.
Stengline.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Pritchett.
Yes.
And Bevins.
Thank you. At this point, I'd like to just take a deviation from the agenda and ask for a point of privilege and ask the attorney and the council a question. Any objections to that? Okay. We've had a request by citizens to come before us in public forum regarding an item that was previously on the agenda, and it's the dangerous dog hearing. I would like to ask the attorney first if my inclination is to allow them to speak for 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. But I'd like to ask your thoughts on that before we pass that along to them.
Well, Mr. President, Council, that's, whether you allow that or not is entirely up to the council. The decision's already been made.
Yes?
But if the council feels that it would be beneficial to the city or to the public at large to allow that discussion, then it's entirely up to the council if they wish to do that.
Thank you. So they've asked to have a 3 to 5 minutes in public forum. Is there objections to that? I don't know why they couldn't make it in a timely manner, but it seems, I don't know. Any objections to that? Okay. 3 to 5. Chief, thank you. All right, we'll continue with and thank you for that moment. It was unexpected. Item 10B is the resolution receiving the feasibility report and calling hearing on improvement 21-12, the North Brainerd Reconstruction project. I'm sure this is also City Engineer and Public Works Director Sandy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the council. So this project is our large reconstruction or resurfacing project. It consists of reconstructing North 3rd Street from Washington to Holly Street, North 6th Street from Washington to Juniper Street, North 7th Street from Kingwood to Holly Street, and Juniper Street from 2nd to 10th Street. Most of these pavements were constructed in the early 1900s. They have the original concrete underneath them. Original storm sewer, clay tile storm sewer, very undersized. Original water main. The roads themselves are in need of reconstruction, and so this project would basically take out all of the curb and gutter, all the old concrete pavement, much like you saw back in the early 2000s when they did a lot of streets up in North Brainerd and removed the old concrete. That is kind of the same construction we're looking at here. From a feasibility standpoint, we evaluate feasibility through the project design, through survey, through sizing our storm sewer. Everything is within the existing right-of-way on this project. If you've had the chance to read through the feasibility report, the project estimated costs are a lot higher than we typically see on projects like this because of the amount of utility work we're going to be doing. Being the storm sewer is all undersized, we get a lot of localized flooding. We have a lot of water main work to do. The sidewalk cost is quite is a lot more than what we've seen on typical projects due to sidewalk being on both sides of the street and going through a lot of driveways and a lot of cracked panels, ADA hazards, and there's over 110 pedestrian ramps on this project. So that sidewalk cost is quite a lot. I guess from there, I'll answer any questions about the feasibility report that you have in your packet. Otherwise, staff would be looking for the adoption of the resolution in which accepts that report and sets the public hearing for April 4th, 2022 at 7:30 p.m.
Thank you very much. So any questions of Engineer and Public Works Director Sandy on project 2112? Any questions? Okay, hearing none, we're looking for a motion to adopt the resolution, receiving the feasibility report, and calling for the hearing on the improvement for April 4th, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. Motion by Johnson, second by O'Day. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Administrator Bergman, please call the roll.
Stengline?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
And Bevins?
Yes, that resolution is adopted. Item C is a consideration for request to amend the greenhouse ordinance. Mr. Chansky, is there anything you'd like to add to what's in our packet?
Nothing that's not already in the memo I provided to the council, other than Mr. Zelinski is here tonight.
Okay. This did not go on any standing committee, Mr. Chansky?
So this issue originally went before the Planning Commission back in 2020 when Mr. Zelinski requested the ability to build a greenhouse on a lot adjacent to yesterday's gone. The Planning Commission submitted their recommendation to the City Council, who then adopted that recommendation, which did allow for greenhouses in the B3, what is currently the B3, to be built on a non-contiguous lot in the B3 to support a restaurant, bar, or a food establishment, or a floral shop. And then in their recommendations that the council adopted, they were very specific about materials. They referenced current section 17 of the code, which does prohibit the use of flexible rolled material. And Mr. Zelinski would like to use flexible rolled material on his greenhouse. And so the letter that is in your packet, he is requesting that the council reconsider that and allow flexible rolled material to be used on his proposed greenhouse.
Mr. Chansky, is this returning to planning and zoning?
It depends on what the council looks like tonight. The reason we're having it go before the council first really is because where we are at in the new zoning code update, if this is something the council is agreeable to, allowing the flexible roll material, it would be simply as just directing staff to make that change in the new zoning code, which will be coming before you for its first reading on March 21st.
Thank you. Any questions of staff as to the issue? Hearing none, Mr. Zelinski, you want to speak? We got your letter, but if there's something,
Nothing more than the letter, I guess. It's just, I'd like to do it, and it's kind of prohibitive right now. If I can't see putting up a solid structure and being forced to tear it down if I'm not a restaurant. That's the way it's written in, I don't even know what you guys call them. I don't follow laws, the codes, whatever you call them.
codes.
And it says in there that you have to be a restaurant. I'm not even a restaurant, so I don't even know if I can build this. Because when we went through the licensing things, I'm classified as a bar.
Okay.
I got a motion if you're ready.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Zelinski. Mr. Johnson?
I'd move to request staff to provide an updated language to change the ordinance to allow flexible rolled material, and request that greenhouses be expanded to not just restaurants, but any food service business licensed by Minnesota Department of Health. And I so move.
Second.
Pritchett. All right, we have a motion by Johnson, second by Pritchett.
I can speak.
Yeah, Mr. Johnson.
Okay, yeah, this came before us just last year, I think. And in the city council meeting where we finally adopted it, it was like presented as staff as, hey, now Steve can go build his greenhouse. And we thought we were helping out a local business, being able to build a greenhouse. He comes back in the spring, and we were all happy and smiling to him, sending him out the door last fall. But now he comes back this spring and we're telling him, no, you can't do any of those things you think you can do. I don't think that's very good business. I think we should follow through on what we say. So I think we should make these changes.
Sure. Any other discussion? Mr. Erickson?
Yeah, I'll just mention too, so while this predates my time as the liaison in the planning commission, I did go back and watch the meeting where it was discussed. And the type of structure with the rolled was specifically mentioned in that meeting that the planning commission didn't want to support that language. But again, at council we did, and I supported it on council, so I'm going to support it tonight as well.
Okay. Any other discussion? I will speak against the motion. I think planning and zoning was correct. And the reason is, with nothing in your motion for maintenance and upkeep, and we have these throughout the city now that predate our zoning, I think they just look disastrous, abandoned, and not taken care of. And I think that was what the planning, I also watched it again, and I'm pretty sure that's what the planning was very specific about. And without that in your motion, I just think you're just gonna have a bunch of abandoned hoops with tattered plastic hanging stapled to it. Please let me finish. And I see nothing to prevent that. If they had to be taken down regularly, or had to be remade regularly, or had to be approved yearly, I also want to see this pass. But without that, does that make sense? Gabe, you're up.
It does, and just my thoughts on that, and I could be wrong, but it still would be within the interim use permit. So it's still, if they stopped operating as a restaurant or sold the restaurant to a new restaurateur, they would have to reapply for the permit or take the greenhouse down in 60 days, which is another wild thing that we're saying, use bricks and steel and glass, and also we'll only let you have it for a couple of years, right? But I think because it's the interim use permit, it can't sit there for decades. It can't just fall apart. And that's my view on it.
Mr. Chansky?
Alderman Johnson is correct.
Okay. I'm in. Mr. Pritchett, you had your hand up?
Yeah, my other thought on this too is since it's places of business, they're not going to want a dilapidated, rundown hoop business, right there by their restaurant, by their.
I will take you for a ride and show you what happens to businesses. Mr. O'Day.
I like it happening. I want this to happen. I do like the idea of looking into it every every so often, if one of these does become a terrible eyesore, I'm not a fan of terrible eyesores. And, you know, if we allow this, there's a chance that we could have 3, 4 of them downtown. Who knows?
You can fine them 10,500. We just made that.
You can go higher than that.
My point is, before it's so rudely interrupted, is the cost of food is really high right now. And if he's gonna grow that in there and sell it to the local restaurants, not just using it at his own restaurant, that's gonna help everybody. So if we had more of these, I say go for it. If they don't look right, and when we're checking it out every 2, 3 years, we can say, hey, can you please replace the covering on this greenhouse? I think that takes the worry out of it for me. So I would motion to amend it with a 3-year check to reapprove it.
Okay, we have an offer to amend to inspect the interim use greenhouses every 3 years. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Hearing none, that motion to offer to amend fails. Any other discussion? Hearing none, this is a voice vote. Mr. Johnson, any chance you could restate your motion?
Yeah, more or less. I move to direct staff change the ordinance to allow flexible rolled material and also change the language that limit it from restaurants and floral shops to floral shops and food service businesses with a state license, and I so move.
And we had a second by Pritchett. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Aye, that motion passes. All right, next up is public forum, item 11. Time allocated for citizens to bring matters not on the agenda, and we have already discussed. There's going to be a break in protocol there. Mr. Bessel, do you?
They should be on the way, Mr. President.
Okay, we are in the public forum section. Anybody in the audience that wishes to speak in public forum, we'll give you 3 minutes or so to let us know what you're thinking on items not on the agenda outside of the fact that we are going to let the dog hearing go. Mr. Strong, anybody online? No, sir. Okay, I'm going to ask again in the audience. And then if you have, we have people who have asked to speak on the dog hearing. Council did not object to the 3-minute rule, so if you're here to speak on the we've already moved on the dangerous dog hearing, but you did make the effort to come in. I apologize, you did not make it here on time for the hearing, but we're going to give you 3 minutes in open forum. Please come forth, state your name and your address, and you've got a chance to say whatever you'd like. This is not a discussion, it's your time to tell us what you think. So please start with your name and address.
Angela Blakemore, 515 2nd Avenue Northeast.
Thank you.
I just wanted you guys to know that I had a few letters to give you where the dogs have been, where we've had them. Can I bring them to you?
You absolutely can. Just bring them up here, Angela. We're just going to set them right there because you want to, okay?
I guess. Do you want?
Keep going. You got 3 minutes.
I just want you guys to know that these dogs, they're not dangerous. They didn't get enough. A dog, when they were at the house, attacked Brownie on the chain. And that's when I was having trouble and I called from the neighbor's phone to ask for help because of that other dog. I don't know what happened to, besides me getting assaulted and injuries in between that. So I'm going to have to deal with that with the police department, an attorney. I don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, I was on the ground with a knee in my back and I couldn't even breathe. It was not good. It was the scariest thing I've ever had to go through. And I have a foot. It was not right how that part happened. And then all the dogs are, being put down and they shouldn't be. I got a specialist that even says that they're not dangerous. She's had them with the other animals and nobody wants to look at that. No one even wants this, but anybody that's trained in that field, 30-some years doing this, that she can tell me the dogs are not dangerous. They do tests, you know, but no one wants to let us do that. I don't understand why. If anybody here has got that, you know, behavior specialist, you know, maybe you do, I don't know. But so far, even talking to Mike, they won't even let us do anything. Won't even let us go see him, bring anything, not even a vet there to look at Brownie, you know. We were denied medical care for her. I just think it's crazy when we can show proof. At least somebody that, you know, is smarter than I am with the dogs, you know, and, you know, maybe, you know, they just know more. They're trained in this field, you know. I just want you to take that into consideration, I guess, in the letters of where Lisa's at the kennel they're at. And Pillager, I know she wrote down that she didn't have any issues, and there's other dogs there. There's cats. There's a pig. There's chickens. There's everybody else's dogs. They played in the yard together. She had no issues, and they were there quite a lot. It was a nice, you know, I think it was $35 a day for each one to be there. And so that's where it's been costing a lot, you know, and still trying to show that they're not dangerous. And I just want someone to at least look into that at least. That's all.
Okay, anything else? You got a minute to go. Please state your name and address, and you get the last minute.
Nathan William Scott. I just wanted to speak on the behalf of my dogs. They're not mean dogs, you guys. They killed the dog out in the middle of by the river, by the potlatch. There was no human around. There was off the leash. The girls were by the baseball field about 4 blocks away looking for it. Yeah, they killed the dog. I don't know why, all right? But they've never killed anything else. They've never attacked anything else. There was an incident you guys have brought up upon your guys' council about a Hank dog, and this lady from Bimers, or this other kennel place, she has a college degree to determine if dogs are dangerous or not by testing and putting them through a behavior test. And if you guys want to euthanize my dogs, at least let me bring her, or at least let her come to heart and look at the dogs and give her own professional opinion on it. And yeah, I guess. Sorry for wasting your guys' time.
Thank you, Nathan. All right, that will end the special part of public forum and ask if there's anybody else that wishes to speak on any subjects not on the agenda this evening. That will be my second ask, and a third ask, anybody else who wishes to speak on to the council during the public forum. Sean, anybody online? Nope. All right, then it is 8:37. We will close the public hearing. We'll move to staff reports. We'll start over here for our HR. Nope, nothing from HR. How about from the fire department? No, sir. Legal department? Nothing. Community development? Don't let me down. You wore the tie. You look good. You gotta have something.
Just wanted to highlight something in my report that the city of Brainerd, we applied for a $500,000 grant for our Safe Routes to School project on Oak Street in front of Harrison Elementary, and we were awarded that. So we'll be constructing that project in 2023. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Finance Director Hillman? No, we've got a couple from PUC here. Anybody from PUC have anything they want to let the council know? Mr. IT Director, GIS Director Strong? Nothing. All right. Nothing from the police department? That online? Any staff online, Mr. Strong?
Not tonight.
All right. Administrator Bergman?
I have nothing to add in addition to what's in my report.
Absolutely fantastic. Now the mayor's report.
That's right.
Get comfy.
First and foremost, I am now officially taking bets on how high one of our citations will get this year. The over-under is $3,000, so taking bets. Place your bets. 600, he
This
says.
is a fundraiser for the children.
Yeah, all the things we say. Just a quick note, we did talk about St. Patrick's Day celebration downtown. The forms do say that you have to get your application in for the parade at 5 o'clock today. Now, I will extend that to anyone listening, to the 17 people watching us on YouTube. You can contact me tomorrow morning and still get into this parade. How many we got? 19. I'm good. 17, right on the dot. Right on the dot. I want more praise for having called that exactly on the dot. 17 people.
I want to see you dress up like the Lucky Charms guy in the parade.
Maybe I'll dress up like a pickle. We'll see. But if you are still interested, I will still accept your application for that parade. Shep from Shep's and Denise from O'Neary's put that wonderful celebration on, and we're excited to have that happen. Parade at 1 p.m. on Saturday. And then lastly, the park board is starting their whiteboard sessions for master planning the various different parks. I want to say that I'm really excited for this because instead of agreeing for a museum to pay for half of the fee to have someone master plan for us, and then not getting paid for that, they decided as a park board to take this on themselves, and they are going to go through individually and take a session or two to look at the parks, figure out what it is they think is best, and then try and do as much of it internally as they can, and then seek outward help as well. So that should save us a little bit of money. But really important, tomorrow, 4 o'clock? 4 o'clock tomorrow, right here at City Hall, you have an opportunity to be involved in the J.C.'s Park initial master planning session. So if you have any ideas, Councilman Johnson, if you have any ideas for what you want to see over at J.C.'s Park, an underutilized park, a park that we feel that we can make a few changes, open it up, maybe figure out some cool new things to do over there. If you were interested, 4 o'clock tomorrow, right here in these same chambers. Love to see you. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll start with council member reports. Ted Erickson.
Nothing tonight, thanks.
Mr. Pritchett.
Nothing to report.
Mr. O'Day.
I'll just report, EDA met last week. We finalized all of our contracts with RFPs, and we did, I believe, move forward with the new park going out for bid, almost. We met again last week. Anyway,
Tomorrow we're
going out for
meeting.
bid tomorrow.
No, the park board will consider going out to bid tomorrow. We
I
had a
don't know what's
special
going on.
meeting before the
He was
workshop.
at the meeting, though.
I was there. I don't know what's going on. End of report.
You've been drinking some of the mayor's Kool-Aid? Thank you. Tiffany Stengline.
Nothing.
Mr. Johnson.
Nothing to add.
Perfect. And the only thing I will add is I believe, Mr. Johnson, the Northside Residents Association has made their first pitch to the park board regarding the parks in Northside, with Mr. Marone leading the charge. How'd that go?
Chuck do?
No, yeah, well, you're the park liaison,
No,
aren't you?
Dave is.
Dave?
I read about it in the newspaper.
Excuse
though.
me,
Sounds like you did a great job.
I'm sorry, Mayor Bedell.
Just gave a report
Yeah, but you didn't say how it
for
went.
it was like a 5-minute report.
Listen, the Northside residents take great pride in leading the charge and doing what they're supposed to do. I would expect a little something from the mayor for that.
What I will say is that I greatly appreciate citizens stepping up.
You asked, we delivered prior to your request. How much faster could we have done it?
Too fast. Too fast.
Want to
That,
watch the YouTube video?
so fast that you got looped back around to the backside of the parks. You're the last park now that will get touched. But no, we're greatly appreciative of all the work that Mr. Marone did, as well as the recommendations. And what I did read in that presentation is that you are not asking for any money, any staff time, or any help whatsoever in doing all things with that park. I believe I read that.
I think Teresa wrote that.
So I just hold you to that.
Outside the phone. Yeah. All right, item 15, we are going to look for a motion to adjourn to a closed session pursuant to, yes, to Minnesota Statute 13D.05, subdivision 3, to discuss possible acquisition of property PID 41361081 and 41361080 after a 8-minute break.
So move.
Motion by Erickson, second by O'Day. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we'll be back in 8 minutes to start the closed session. If you're not part of the closed session, we don't need you here.
they're just gonna sit up here and spit out a couple rhymes and expect to say okay?
I'm sorry, Gabe, I thought you were the park board guy.
I was when I was first on the council. I handed it off to Dave. So it's open for you.
The park board, I'm trying to get off of,
Fire them on March 21st.
Doesn't matter, but
It's that important, yeah.
curious.
right.